What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. So right now, Tesla's in a range. As Tesla approaches the 467 to 470 area, we like to reject up here. And then as we come down towards 440, we do tend to bounce very close to 440 to 435, right? So we've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for the last couple of days. Now, as of recent, the trend is showing some weakness, however, because we were at 474, we came down, made a lower high, came down. We bounced with Elon Musk's pay package approval decision when the announcement came out, and then we rejected again. So overall, Tesla's continuing to make lower highs and lower lows. Even though we're still technically in this range, there is some weakness right now as Tesla is barely at 440, and there is a risk of it dipping even more back down towards the lower 430s, especially with the overall stock market dipping. So I would say the trend is looking a little bit weaker on Tesla, although we have not lost key support yet for this to start dipping more. So that's what we're seeing thus far. What's happening with Tesla stock? The good news is that shareholders have overwhelmingly approved Elon Musk's pay package, at least so far. And then that incentivizes Elon Musk to stay at the company. That's great news for Tesla. That's why Tesla kind of popped yesterday. But it appears that much of this news is priced in, and that's why Tesla's in the red again afterwards. And on top of this, Elon Musk was talking about self-driving robotaxis, the Tesla semis, and a bunch of other developments that's coming out from them. So that was great for them, especially because of the big potential in developing AI. Musk also talked a lot about how humanoid robots are going to be big for the company. So that was also some good news, but not really enough to get the share price to pop. Like I said before, much of this was already priced in. Now, the overall market was dipping, and this is also what dragged Tesla down because we got some data involving the labor market yesterday. Much of the data was showing that the labor market is contracting, continuing to show some weakness. And that's why the market saw a more negative reaction, right? Unemployment is approaching 4.4%, and we saw the highest number of jobless claims since, the last 4 years. So we're continuing to see weakness in the labor market, incentivizing the Fed to ease up on policy. Even Hammock from the Fed came out and said that despite the fact that there are inflationary risks with inflation going up a little bit, the Fed's in a position where they can't be raising rates as much because of this contraction in the labor markets. Even different Fed speakers are saying that. So for today, it is currently Friday, November 7th, 2025, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after the stock market opens. We have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment data coming out, the 5-year inflationary expectations, and the current conditions reports, which will likely cause some volatility. So be ready for this just to be safe. Most likely the data is going to be causing a bigger move. So be prepared just in case, at least for that, especially the 5-year inflationary expectations. So we'll see how it goes, but look for some volatility at 10 a.m. Some more data to look at. We have quite a few option expirations today, a 3.14 puts to call option ratio. The majority positions are in puts, which makes me wonder, will the market dump and then bounce today? That could happen. There could be an end of the day bounce if we end up seeing some decent reactions because of this, but we'll see just to be safe. Another couple of things to remember is that we are once again over 30 days into the government shutdown, and today there's going to be a vote that's going to be cast by the Senate. They're going to try to pass a funding bill that could keep the government open up until November 21st to fund the government up until then. So we're going to see if this passes or not. This could also cause volatility for the markets if this vote passes. That's a big if, though. Nothing's guaranteed. The Supreme Court's also reviewing President Trump's tariffs. We're going to see what the decision is in the upcoming days. So, with that being said, what do I see, at least for the markets? We'll see what happens with the government shutdown news. But as of right now, we are showing some weakness in Tesla stock. We're testing this 440 area. We're going to see if this holds. If it doesn't, we could be dipping to 435 or below. So be very careful. We're also making lower highs over and over again, so the odds do favor us dipping for that 435 zone. Keep that in mind. In terms of Tesla, we're technically on a in terms of spikes, these were also on a downtrend. This is also what could be dragging Tesla down. I would not be surprised if SPY tests 666 to 664. Then we're going to see if we bounce off that area, which is where our 200 EMA happens to be. So that could also cause a lot of volatility. So look for a pop and drop, and then 666 to 664 could be tested, and we'll see if we bounce. Also on the QQQ, the same thing's essentially going on. We could be tipping to 605 to 602. Then we'll see if we bounce off this area or not. So keep that in mind. That's going to be very, very key for how we end up moving. So I would not be surprised if the market dropping causes Tesla to also follow the trend. Notice that Tesla has been downtrending for a couple of days as the market's been dipping, but 440 is very key for Tesla. If we lose 440, we could be dipping to 435 or below. But if we could reclaim 450, there could be a bigger bounce coming. As of right now, we're favoring 440 or below for a temporary move down. And then we're going to see if Tesla could bounce off 435 or not. So be very careful with its volatility. For the Russell 2000, we're dipping. We're going to be watching this 237 area as our main support, which is where the gap fill is. I think we came very close to filling this gap. There's a gap over here to get filled. 237 to 235 is where we should be trying to form a base. Then we're going to see if we could bounce off this on the IWM. On ES, we're approaching 6,700. We could be dipping back down towards the support right here at 6,700 flat. So look for some downside. And then we'll see if we bounce near 6,700. We could be dipping another couple of points. Same thing with NQ. We could be dipping towards either 25,000 flat or 24,800. Then we'll see if we bounce off that to push back up to 25,400s or not. Bitcoin has 100,000 as our main support, and we'll see if we bounce back up to 102,500. So watch your levels very closely. And don't forget, Tesla could be once again testing this key support and continuing to fall. If 440 doesn't hold, we could be dipping to 435. So give this the time it needs. Nvidia could also be dipping. It's on a double top downtrend back down to 182. And we'll see if we rebound or not. But just keep that in mind. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. Aapl also has a head and shoulders right here, and it could be dipping back down to 167, and we'll see what happens. Sorry, 267, which is the 50 EMA. We could be dipping to 266 to 267 on Aapl before we attempt to bounce. Palantir's on a downtrend, could be dipping towards 170 to 168, and we'll see if buyers defend. There is still some downside risk. AMD is also on a downtrend, could be dipping back down towards 225, and we'll see if we rebound. Coinbase is on a downtrend. We could be dipping back down to like 282. And then Amazon could be retesting 238, and we'll see if we bounce. Meta's also on a downtrend, could be looking for essentially 605, and we'll see if buyers defend. Google is range bound. We also have an inverse head and shoulders forming. This is showing some strength. If we could hold 282, we're looking for a nice rebound. But if 282 fails us, we could be dipping to 280 again. And then Microsoft's on a downtrend, could be looking for essentially 490 flat. So watch your levels very closely. There's also an inverse head and shoulders like pattern developing on the VIX. And that could also be favoring, once again, upside if we break some key resistance. So watch that very closely. But for now, the market is looking a little bit more weak, and that could drag Tesla down, in my opinion, taking us back down towards that 435 area. 440 does not hold, or even lower than that potentially. So be careful, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. There's some downside risk for now, but by the end of the day, there could be a bounce coming with all the option expirations and possibly with the government shutdown. We're going to see if the Senate can pass the vote, if we could get the government funded or not. So just keep that in the back of your guys' minds as the day goes on. But don't forget, there's going to likely be some volatility at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for listening, and peace out.